Well, I want to thank everybody. We just spent 2.5 hours talking to Vladimir Putin, and I think some progress has been made. It's a terrible situation going on over there. 5,000 young people every single week are being killed. So hopefully we did something. We also spoke to the heads of most of the European nations, and we're trying to get that whole thing wrapped up. What a shame that it ever started in the first place. But I want to thank Melania and for your leadership in this very important issue. It's an amazing issue. America is blessed to have such a dedicated and compassionate First Lady. I would tell you she is very dedicated. In fact, if you look at just what I heard, Putin just said they respect your wife a lot. I said, what about me? No, they like Melania better. That wasn't good. I don't know if that was good. I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I also want to congratulate the First Lady in securing $25 million in the first fiscal year, 2026, budget to provide housing and support for youth transitioning out of the foster care. And I can say that she loves children, and you really worked very hard on this, and you had a lot of help from some friends of mine right here, and a lot of the senators are here and congressmen, and I appreciate you all being here. We're also grateful to be joined by people that are just in love with what we're doing. It's such an important situation, and commissioners of the Federal Trade Commission and the CEO of X, Linda Yaccarino. Where are you, Linda? Where are you, Linda? Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Stand up. Thank you, Linda. Great job. Doing a great job. It's a big deal, right? That's great. Today, it's my honor to officially sign the Take It Down Act into law. It's a big thing, very important, so horrible what takes place. This will be the first ever federal law to combat the distribution of explicit, imaginary, posted without subject's consent. They take horrible pictures, and I guess sometimes even make up the pictures, and they post it without consent or anything else. And very importantly, this includes for forgeries generated by artificial intelligence known as deepfakes. We've all heard about deepfakes. I have them all the time, but nobody does anything. I asked Pam, can you help me, Pam? She says, no, I'm too busy. Too busy doing other things. Don't worry, you'll survive. But a lot of people don't survive. That's true, and it's so horrible. With the rise of AI image generation, countless women have been harassed with deepfakes and other explicit images distributed against their will. This is the wrong, and it's just so horribly wrong. And it's a very abusive situation, like in some cases people have never seen before. And today we're making it totally illegal. Thank you. Upon hearing the stories of so many women affected, our First Lady made stopping these abuses a top priority, and she was given tremendous support because she'd go up to people and talk about it. They say, yeah, we know about it. We have the problem. Can we do something? And she did something about it with the help of a lot of the people, especially the political people sitting here today. Among Melania's guests in the gallery during my address to the joint session of Congress was a 15-year-old young person, Elliston Berry, whose image was turned into an illicit deepfake by a peer. Elliston, where are you? Are you around? Stand up, darling. That's fine. Beautiful. Great. Thank you. It's fantastic. Elliston quickly became a powerful advocate committed to preventing other girls from suffering the same abuse. Elliston, we salute you and we thank you very much, and it's an honor to have you with us today. Great job you've done. Also with us are several other brave Americans whose lives were rocked by online harassment, including Francesca Manny, as well as a South Carolina State Representative, Brandon Guffey, and his family, who've lost their son to suicide after he was targeted in an internet extortion scam, of which you have a lot of them, a lot. I want to thank you both for your incredible work and to reach this important day. Could you stand up, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. Great job. I've read about it. Thank you very much. It's a real honor to have you here, because there's no place like the White House, I found out. You know, you have a lot of places, and I just left some of the richest places, and we loved them, and they gave us a nice contribution of about $5 trillion, but This is a special place. Even they talk about it, so it's great to have everybody here. Under the law, I will sign in just a moment. Anyone who intentionally distributes explicit images without the subject's consent will face up to 3 years in prison. In addition, this law establishes new civil liabilities for online platforms that refuse to take these images down promptly upon request. We will not tolerate online sexual exploitation, and especially it's gone on at levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's getting worse and worse, and I think this is going to hopefully stop it. And not easy to do. People talked about all sorts of First Amendment, Second Amendment. They talked about any amendment they could make up, and we got it through because of some very brave people, including some very brave politicians in the audience. I want to thank the bill sponsors, Senator Ted Cruz. Ted, stand up, please. Great. Great. Thank you, Ted. Great. Very effective person. And Congresswoman Maria Salazar, a friend of mine. Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much for their amazing work. And thanks also to the 99 senators and 408 members of Congress who voted in favor of the bill. Wow, I wish we could get that vote from other things. We have another bill coming up. Do you think we'll get that vote? Maybe not. We should, but we probably won't. But working with our First Lady, we've shown that bipartisanship is still possible. That's true. With 99 senators, that's incredible. Senators, stand up. Look at that. John, you're here. Look at all of the senators. This is big stuff. I'm in trouble because I don't have your names. They didn't give me these names. We have so many. We have half of the Senate here. Now they're all going to hate me because I can't introduce you all. We don't have the time for that. I have to get back to Putin and people. But thank you very much for being here, all of you, and congressmen, a lot of them, and women. Working with our First Lady, though, we've shown that bipartisanship is possible. I mean, it's the first time I've seen such a level of bipartisanship, and it's a beautiful thing to do. I'm not even sure you realize, honey, you know, a lot of the Democrats and Republicans don't get along so well. You've made them get along, and she didn't even know about that. She didn't know we had a problem. She didn't know we had a problem. She got it. But I want to thank you, honey. You've done amazing that this was done when you started it. I said, I don't know, it sounds like a tough one, and yet a very important one, and you got it done. So I congratulate you, and I congratulate Ted, Maria, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, and we'll sign the bill. Thank you.
Mr. President, Andy Harris said he didn't convince enough people to vote for the bill. He said he didn't adequately convince enough people to vote for the bill.
What was the expression you used now?
Andy
Were
Harris,
you embarrassed?
No, it said Andy Harris said that you didn't adequately convince enough people to vote for the bill, the House Freedom Caucus.
You mean after this speech?
After this speech, that's what he said.
Well, what do we see at the voters? I think it was a great talk. It wasn't a speech we talked about. And who do you work for?
Notice.
Who?
Notice.
I don't even know what the hell that is. Hold on, Andy. Get yourself a real job. Let me tell you. I think we have unbelievable unity. I think we're going to get everything we want. And I think we're going to have a great victory. And this man has done a great job. And I think this was a tremendous session. You may want to say something.
Yeah, it was a great meeting. The party is unified. The House Republican Conference is excited. Multiple standing ovations. They love this president. The people back home love what he's doing. It's historic, and everybody understands the scope and the meaning of this. If we do not accomplish this mission, every one of you, all the American people, are going to have the highest tax increase that you've ever had. And among the debt ceiling cliff that's approaching and all the other problems, this is the bill to do it. I think we're going to get it done, Mr. President.
The Democrats want to raise your taxes. If this doesn't work, if this doesn't get the numbers that the Republicans want, and I think it does. I think it's all Republican vote. The Democrats are going to be raising your taxes by 68%. And they will not do the, we're going to have an 85% cut in drug costs. 85% cut in drug costs. The Democrats, the drug prices are going to go up. I can't imagine a Democrat not voting for this. I think the Democrats, if they don't vote for it, that means they're voting for an increase in drug prices. Think of that, versus an 80 to an 85, maybe 75, but could be an 85% cut in drug costs, okay?
Mr. President, will you need to reach out to individual members? Will you need to make a pitch to individual
I don't think
members?
so, no, that's what I did.
President,
That's really what we did today. I think it was a really great, that was a meeting of love. Let me tell you, that was love in that room. There was no shouting. I think it was a meeting of love. There were a couple of things that we talked about specifically where some people felt a little bit one way or the other, not a big deal. And I covered them. It wasn't so much a speech. I covered certain points. And I think there was, I'd be very
You
surprised.
told him you were losing patience. Are you losing patience?
No, I didn't tell. Who told you I said I'm losing?
That's what we heard inside the room. You
But
said you
it's a
didn't say
lie.
you
Wait
were
a
losing
minute,
patience.
Who told you that?
What we heard from people inside the room.
Oh,
It's
really?
not true.
It's totally true. I never used the term. I didn't say losing. I didn't even talk about it. In fact, it's the opposite. I think we're going to get it done. I'm not losing patience. We're ahead of schedule. Anybody that told you that is a liar. Wait a minute. I never mentioned the word losing patience because I'm not losing patience. We're ahead of
That's
schedule.
why I asked you. I want to get
Well,
clarity.
why don't you go back to your source and tell them they're liars if the source even exists?
Mr.
It
President,
still passes the House.
Yeah.
Senators are already talking about making a number of changes
Sure.
over their chamber.
Always
Is
have.
that okay? Or
Yeah.
do you want them to swallow
Yeah,
this bill?
in some cases they have things that I like even better. No, it always happens. There'll be some changes.
Mr.
But
President.
John Thune and Mike have been very closely aligned on this. They've been moving it up together.
Mr. President, apparently you said don't F with Medicaid, apparently you did say in the room. There is some concern among some Republicans, including Senator Josh Hawley, that this could impact benefits and that could be amount to a quote, hidden tax on the
I didn't
working
say, here's what I
poor.
said.
I'm wondering if you're.
Here's what I said. What do you
What
want
you
to
say
say?
to those members who are
I
worried
said
about blowback for
waste,
supporting this bill?
fraud, and abuse for Medicaid. If you find waste or fraud or abuse, we want to strengthen Medicaid. We want to strengthen Medicare. Waste, fraud, and abuse. The Democrats will let illegals be on. They'll destroy it. It will be destroyed. They want to have illegal immigrants be on. And if you do that, because it wasn't designed for that. Waste, fraud, and abuse.
Can you guarantee that your voters who supported you in the election, particularly working class voters, will not lose health insurance under this bill?
Oh, they won't lose health insurance. Not only that, remember, I'm cutting drug prices by 85%. And right now, I'm saving it. I'm saving the whole thing because I did something that nobody was willing to do. Other countries pay a tiny fraction what we do. And I instituted favored nations. We're now going to pay the lowest in the world. We're going to be the equivalent of the lowest country in the world. People go to London, they go to Canada, they go to other countries, many other countries, because they want to buy their pharmaceutical products, their drugs, at a fraction of the cost. Now we're going to have the lowest cost anywhere in the world, and nobody else would do that but me. And that might be an election by itself, might be election winning. Now, when you add that in, when you put that into Medicaid and Medicare, we've just strengthened Medicare and Medicaid. And the Democrats won't do that. You know why? Because they're taken care of by the drug companies. And the ones that are taken care of are hard line. Some Republicans get money from drug companies, and that's okay, because they're okay with it. I talked about it. The drug companies take care of everybody. It's the biggest lobby, most powerful lobby in the world. There's no lobby like that. But the Republicans are okay with it. Not only okay with it, they love it. It was time. So we're going to cut drug prices from 75 to 85, in some cases even more than that. You know, I was telling the story that, and some of you were at that news conference. I gave a news conference where I was the first one in 18 years to cut drug costs for the year. And they were like a quarter of a point to half a point less. And I was very proud of that. Now I'm cutting them by 80, 85%, because I stopped the scam. This was a scam between the middlemen and the drug companies. This was a giant scam. And by the way, and other countries, because other countries fought for this. This was a giant scam, and we're not going to have it. So remember this. Go back and tell your people, if you'd like to, that the Republican Party is cutting the cost of drugs by as much as 85%. Not 8%, not 5%, not 1%, 85%. And you're going to have the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world, because I'm doing favored nations. And it's all done. I signed it. and the Democrats will unsign it, and the drug prices are going to go up. And I think on that issue alone, you can't lose an election.
Mr. President, say that your DOJ is weaponizing with the arrest of a congresswoman, Democratic
Oh,
congresswoman.
give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control.
Did you address
You know, those days are over.
Did
The
you
days
tell them
of
to do
woke.
that?
The days of woke. No, I didn't. The days of woke are over. That woman, I have no idea who she is. That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
Mr. President, thank you very much. You campaigned on lowering the price of groceries. How do you justify cutting food assistance in this bill?
Let me just tell you, the cut is going to give everybody much more food because prices are coming way down. Groceries are down. Eggs. You told me about eggs. You asked me a question about eggs my first week. You said eggs. I said, I just got here. Tell me about eggs. And it was going through the roof. You know that eggs now are way down. Everybody's buying eggs. Groceries down. Energy's down. Gasoline is now they're buying gasoline now for $1.99. If you look back, you'll see $3.50, $4. This country, we're going to lose this country. Our country now is respected all over the world. All over the world we're respected. We were a laughing stock. The entire world we were a laughing stock. I went to the Middle East, and those rulers of those three countries are very powerful people, very big people, very rich people. They respect our country again. China was going to take them over. You know, China was going to they were going to get into the, if you look, Saudi Arabia, you take a little look what was happening with Qatar, UAE, great people, unbelievable leaders, but they were abandoned by this country. And they're not going to China anymore. They love us, we love them. We're going to take care of them, and they're going to take care of us. We came back with $5.1 trillion. Trillion. Every other president would have come back having spent $5.1 trillion as usual. And remember this, we were losing $5 billion a day under the past administration. I have to be a little bit careful the way I talk, because there's a lot of anger about that administration. And by the way, the real question, who ran the auto pen? Okay, who ran the auto pen? Because the things that were signed illegally, in my opinion. I think we've just proved that. But our country is respected again. All over the world we're respected. We were laughed at 7 months ago. Then you had November 5th, and our country is respected again. Thank you. Things, as you know, we have the G20 is going to South Africa. When is that going to be?
In November.
In November.
And thereafter, I hand over to you. And
Yes, we have it next.
you originated the G20, so I'll hand over the baton to you,
Right.
and then you lead the
That's-
G20
We're
in
going
the
to have
world.
it. We're going to have it the following
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So we'll be discussing many things, and some of the things you've been reading about in the papers and
Yes.
the media. And I would say that, look, the president is a truly respected man in many, many circles, and in some circles he's considered a little controversial. But we're going to be discussing some of the things that are taking place in South Africa and see if we can help. And we want to help. And we've had a long relationship with South Africa. I have, because indirectly I have so many friends that live there. I have a lot of friends. I mean, these are famous guys, but I have a lot of friends that live there that are tremendous people. And we'll be discussing that. We'll have a nice conversation, and I really appreciate that you guys came along. It really helps us in our thought process. But it is a great honor to have you, and I appreciate you called. He called. I don't know where he got my number, but I picked up. He said, I want to come over and see you. And that was my honor, and thank you very much for being here.
You're most welcome.
Thank you
Most
very
welcome.
much.
Well, thank you very much for welcoming us to this reformed White House. I've been here before, and it looks really fantastic. I must congratulate you.
Thank you.
But I also thank you for allowing our delegation. This is a very mixed delegation that you've got. We've got people from government, my ministers. I've got someone from the trade union movement who we really collaborate with, and from business as well, and our sporting legends. When I spoke to you, you said, yes, come along and bring Gary Player, bring any else, and Retief Hoosen. I've brought the two of them. Gary
what
Player,
happened to Gary?
I spoke to him. And he said, look, I'm getting rather on in my years, but wishes us luck in this discussion with you. So it's a real joy. And I'd also like to thank you for allowing your people to start discussions with us at the trade level. I mean, we are essentially here to reset the relationship between the United States and South Africa. We are long-standing partners in many, many ways. We've collaborated in many fields, in space issues, in energy, and in trade, and we therefore need to reset that, particularly in the light of some of the announcements that you made on trade and investment. So we want to advance more trade between the two of us, two countries, and our people now have been empowered by yourself and by myself to start engaging, and we hope that we will be able to fuel that engagement during our talks. And we also want to discuss issues that have to do with how we promote further investments in both countries. We've got about 22 companies from South Africa that have invested in the US, thus creating a number of jobs. And similarly, you've got almost 600 companies that have invested in South Africa, and some of them have been in South Africa for more than 100 years.
That's true.
So our links are really long-lasting, and we would like to recalibrate those relations between our two countries and discuss a whole range of issues, geopolitical, the work that you're doing to bring peace around the world, in Ukraine and in the Middle East. So we value that, and we are also a great contributor to peace processes that are going on around the world. And of course, we want to discuss how we can support each other. You are a much bigger economy than we are. We're just a tiny economy, but we rely on each other on a number of issues. We've got critical minerals that you want to fuel the growth of your own economy and reindustrialize. So we have that on offer, including rare earth minerals. So all that combination of opportunity and the products that we buy from you, as well as what we sell to you, I believe makes up a really good and powerful relationship, which we need to strengthen, which we need to engender, and that is really what has brought us here. And we are really privileged to have, great South Africans in the mix. As you said, you'd like to see them as well. And I brought you a really fantastic golf book. Weighs 14 kilograms.
Oh, that sounds good.
And it showcases the golf courses in our country. Johann Rupert wrote preface, so did Annie Els. And I want to showcase our golf courses. You might remember when I spoke to you, and we spoke about golf, you said I should start practicing. And I've started practicing, President, so I'm ready. But let me end just the introductory remarks by thanking you. You may not recall that 5 years ago I spoke to you during the COVID period.
Right.
And it was at a time when the whole world was going through a really cathartic moment.
Right.
And we asked for assistance, and you were able to assist us with respirators. Respirators, and you kept to your word, and you delivered respirators to us. We didn't have as many in our country, and it really helped to help us deal with COVID. So I'm here also to say thank you and to thank the people of America for having helped us during a really difficult time. Being the small economy that we are, we needed help from around the world. And you were there to provide that. So thank you very much.
I remember the call.
Yeah.
We sent 150 respirators. We became the respirator king. We started making them. Nobody had them. We had
Yes.
very few of them.
That's right.
But they were very helpful. But we sent 150, and I appreciated the letter you wrote me a letter. And
That's right. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I
Well,
appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much for that. It really touched my heart after I spoke to you, and you delivered. So
Great honor.
Thank you very much. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions, please?
Mr. President, we welcome white Afrikaner refugees here. Can you explain to Americans why it's appropriate to welcome white Afrikaners here when other refugees like Afghans, Venezuelans, Haitians have all had their protected status revoked?
Well, this is a group, NBC, that is truly fake news. They ask a lot of questions in a very pointed way. They're not questions, they're statements. We've had tremendous complaints about Africa, about other countries too, from people. They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. When you say we don't take others, all you have to do is take a look at the southern border. We let 21 million people come through our border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. They came from all over the world. In many cases, they're criminals. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions. They come from street gangs. They're drug dealers. So don't say that we didn't take them. We take them. We're trying to get them out as fast as we can. And we're doing record business on that. And we just won a big case where we're allowed to send back hundreds of criminals to Venezuela. Just won that today in the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear. But we do have a lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting, and we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that. It's a kind of a different meeting. Normally we have meetings, we talk about trade, and we'll be talking about trade and other things. But that certainly will be a subject that comes up. Yeah. Yes, please. Brian?
Thank you very much. I'd like to get your thoughts on Letitia James, Director Polte. According to him, Letitia James says that the alleged mortgage fraud was simply a mistake. I want to get your thoughts on that. She put down that her father was her husband in order, and this is very similar to, I guess, the false attacks they had on here.
Well, I don't know what it is currently, but Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State, it seemed, I'm not involved in that at all. I know it's being handled by various groups, I guess, but it's major fraud, mortgage documents, and fraudulent everything. I think she said the father was her husband, which she had to have a husband, or so she chose her father, and she put it down, and she had didn't she sign in Virginia, yet she said she lived in Virginia, yet she's the New York State Attorney General, and she did that for tax reasons, so she could take advantage of taxes. And she had the wrong number of units. She had a much different number, which wouldn't have allowed her to qualify and scam the government. So I don't know. I think she's very bad for New York, but I really don't know too much about it, but I appreciate the question. Thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. President, for you to be convinced that there's no genocide.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So May 25th will be the celebration of Africa Day, which pretty much a lot of celebration will be taking place around the world, including here in the United States. What is your message to the entire African continent, African people in this important occasion?
Well, I want to see peace, and I want to see happiness. I want to see health, and you have incredible land. There's tremendous value. A lot of countries don't have that value in the land, the value you have. We have a situation, I think you probably heard about it. We've done, through some very talented people, helped settle a war that's been raging for years, Rwanda and the Congo. And I think we've done it. Believe it or not, I think we've done it. And could you just say a few words about that, my friend?
Yes. A couple of weeks ago, they signed, the two parties signed the Declaration of Principles, in which they've agreed on the way forward. And they have both submitted draft peace agreements, and we have put together one that incorporates both of their suggestions, and we've given it to them. So we're in the process of finalizing this
Looking
piece of
good,
paper.
right?
Looking very good.
No, we have to thank you for even those efforts because the African continent, particularly SADC, our Southern African Development Community, has for years been seeking to foster peace in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So all efforts, including those from outside the continent and inside the continent, are really worthwhile. We are removing our troops from there so that peace can then prevail in that whole area. And we hope that with the support of the international community, we will really have peace in that area. It's so vital, it's so important for the whole region.
Well, we sent our people there, and I think we did a very good job, as headed by my friend, and that was great. That was great. I mean, I'm just hearing phenomenal reports because all I'm hearing is death, and they're chopping heads off, and it's horrible over there. And it was really brave of you to go there, and I really appreciate it. And it looks like we have something very, very substantial. We also talked about trade with them in terms of rare earth and all, but really more for the. It's like if you take a look at what we just did with Pakistan and India, we settled that whole thing, and I think I settled it through trade. We're doing a big deal with India. We're doing a big deal with Pakistan, and I said, "What are you guys doing?" You know, somebody had to be the last one to shoot, but the shooting was getting worse and worse, bigger and bigger, deeper and deeper into the countries, and we spoke to them, and I think I hate to say we got it settled, and then 2 days later, something happens, and they say it's Trump's fault, but Pakistan has got some excellent people and some really great leader. And India is my friend, Modi. And he's a
mutual friend.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And I called them both, and we just did something good. We're trying to settle Russia, Ukraine. We spoke with President Putin for 2.5 hours the day before yesterday. I think we made a lot of progress, but that's a bloodbath. 5,000 people are being killed a week, 5,000 soldiers a week, not including people in cities and towns that are also being killed. So we're trying to help. And it doesn't affect us. It's not our people. It's not our soldiers. It's Ukraine and it's Russia. But if we can save 5,000 souls, we'll do it. You know, we're pretty good at it. But that's a bad situation. That is a really bad situation.
Well, you'll recall when President Zelensky was coming to South Africa, that's when I spoke to you.
That's right.
We both agreed that we need to push the peace message so that there can really be peace. And we've been involved in the Ukraine-Russia conflict for quite a while. So my Minister of State Security here, we've been dealing with them, the exchange of children who were taken away, going through names and addresses and all that. So we've been invested in that whole process as well. And the moves that you're making are fully supported by us because we would like to see the end of that war.
It's true. I called Zelensky, and they said, he's in South Africa. I said, what the hell is he doing in South Africa?
He was talking to
and
us.
We got this big. I said, that's a strange one. I said, what are you doing in South Africa?
Yes.
That's a strange one.
He's trying to make peace. We're taking him. You know, we were lucky because we had the great Nelson Mandela who taught us how to create peace, to make peace. So we were imparting some of those lessons to him, some of those learnings, and I specifically mentioned to him that this is how Nelson Mandela taught us that when you want to have a peace in a country, do it on an unconditional basis and sit down and talk. And that's precisely what I'm sure he's going to heed.
Well, we're going to see what happens with that one. It's there's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of death. It's a bloodbath.
It is. Unfortunately.
I get the satellite pictures of that field, of that killing field. You never saw anything like it in your life. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing that goes on, but I think we've made big progress. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No, not you. Right here. He's from South Africa. Go ahead, please.
What are you expecting on the ICJ case? Are you expecting South Africa to drop that? Is that what you're trying to do?
On which case?
The ICJ
The
case
International
against Israel,
Criminal Justice.
International Criminal Court.
I don't expect anything, to be honest. I really don't. I don't know. It's, they've got a case, there's a lot of anger there, tremendous anger. I don't expect anything. We'll see what happens. We'll have a ruling, and who knows what the ruling is going to mean. Yeah.
On that subject of Gaza, Mr. President, are you going to be speaking to Prime Minister Netanyahu about Israel's renewed offensive? There's been a lot of concern from European countries. The Pope has expressed concern. Are you going to be asking Prime Minister Netanyahu to tone down the offensive in Gaza, to let more aid in?
Was that a question or a statement?
Here's the question.
This guy's, you never change.
Mr. President, this
Go ahead,
time, what will
please.
it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for President. It's for him. No, seriously.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I know the answer. It will be.
Our president will respond to you.
Yeah, let me-
Thank you, Mr. President.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us on the around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
But, Mr. President, I must say
President
that
Trump.
we have, wait. We have thousands of stories talking about it.
Sure.
And we have documentaries, we have news stories, and that. Is Natalie here, somebody here to turn that? I could show you a couple of things, and I have to, it has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure,
We
we
have-
will.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would, and turn the lights down. Turn the lights down, and just put this on. It's right behind you, Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are. So whatever you want to do, we can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament. Honorable. Yes, honorable member.
Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill. Namaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Pa, pa. Pa, pa.
The mayor of DA is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Suri will not be touched. They will be touched, no one. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
Shoot to kill. Namaza. Kill the brewer, the farmer. Kill the brewer, the farmer. Pa, pa, pa. Shoot to kill. Namaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Pa,
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, was not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but, I mean, you understand, somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocide on Twitter.
Who will expropriate land without compensation, whether they like it or not. If they object, they can seek refugee in America.
Now this is very bad. These are burial sites right here. Burial sites. Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who was killed. And it's a terrible sight. I've never seen anything like it. Both sides of the road, you have crosses. Those people were all killed.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen. But okay.
I mean, it's in South Africa, that's where.
We need to find out.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced that it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
You know, you to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing, they also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back, you ought to go back to your studio at NBC, because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you. Go ahead. Go ahead, talk about that. His name is Peter something. He's a terrible reporter. Quiet.
That's my question now.
Let's go.
Thank you so much. President Trump, and a disaster from EMCA in South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve.
What would you like President Ramaphosa to do about the situation
I
that we've
don't
just
know.
seen on the screen?
I don't know. Look, these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. Horrible death. Death. I don't know. To pick anyone, white South Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws. And this is all, I mean, I'll give these to you. So when you say, what would I like to do? I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couples say that they were attacked violently. And,
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is indeed?
well, I could do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers that are being buried. And he asks about a jet that was given. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know, you are so bad. You're such a bad reporter.
President, two questions.
Mr. President
This
Trump,
is one after another. This family was wiped out. I'm just looking.
Can we get a response from President Trump?
Give us your reaction to those videos, Mr. President.
President
Yes, I
Trump,
want
would
your
you-
reaction.
Well, I think the videos are so. No. When you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what.
He's allowed on a possible
And I have other
response.
friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land. They take your land and they kill you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now we're going to talk about it.
We're going to.
But this is a tremendous look. This is a story recent. These are all people that recently got killed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it can get any worse. These are, and you know, the men that you saw, the people that you saw in that movie, those are officials. Those are people that were in office. They had one march, they had a dance in your parliament, whatever you may call it, legislature.
Well, let
and
me
it was
clarify that.
terrible. Yeah,
Let me
please.
clarify that, because what you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
And then
take
when
land.
they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is
Nothing happens to
There
them.
is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now
The
been
farmers are
utilized.
black. The farmers are not black.
We
I don't
now-
say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed. Their heads chopped off, they died violently. And, you know, I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't
we
know
will
we'd get
talk about it.
involved here, but I will say this, that if the news wasn't fake like NBC, which is fake news totally, one of the worst, ABC, NBC, CBS, horrible. But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that. They don't want to talk about it, but now they have to talk about it. But they won't. This won't even be a subject. They'll have him talking about why did a country give a free, think of this, why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? Okay, the United States, not to me, to the United States Air Force, so they could help us out, because we need an Air Force One until that's Air Force One, it's being built, 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I'd take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are
And this is
problems.
precisely what we would also like to talk about, including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States.
Those are all recent. Those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should say you are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns. And these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about. Let me just add quickly, you know, the criminality that we are experiencing in our country needs quite a lot of technological capability. And in one of our areas in South Africa, we're using US technology, which is able to, in many ways, identify where shootings are happening and all that. And I'd like to talk about that because there is support that we can get from you as the United States to help us deal with all these acts of criminality. And that is what I believe partnership is all about. And we are here as a partner so that we can help each other whenever there are challenges. So I'd like us to discuss it, and of course outside of the media, so that we sit down and have a really good discussion that will lead to good outcomes.
Are there any other punitive measures that could be in place should you not be satisfied that South Africa is fixing some of the very bad things, in inverted commas, that you tweeted are happening?
Well, there are a lot of bad things happening in many countries, but this in particular has been very, very bad, and because of we're going to have the whole world watching in another short period of time because you have the G20, and that's a big deal. And it seems like, I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
Very good.
But we have hundreds of people, thousands of people trying to come into our country because they feel they're going to be killed, and their land is going to be confiscated. And you do have laws that were passed that gives you the right to confiscate land for no payment. You can take away land for no payment.
I want to clarify that, because we have a constitution. Our constitution guarantees and protects the sanctity of tenure of land ownership. And that constitution protects all South Africans with regard to land ownership. However, we do say, because we've got to deal with the past, the government, and as your government also has the right to expropriate land for public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
from them.
We have,
and those people, in many cases, are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that. How do you explain that? They're taking people's land away, and in many cases, those people are being executed. And in many cases, it's not the government that's doing it. It's people that kill them and then take their land, and nothing happens to them. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country. They're also going to Australia in a smaller number. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country, and they're white farmers, and they feel that they're going to die in South Africa, and it's a bad thing. Yeah,
what can South Africa do? What concessions would you like to see them make to improve relations with the United States? Then I have one more for President Ramaphosa afterwards.
Well, we just spoke about it. I got them a very, very complex machine, 150 of them. I was asked by the president if he could help, and I did that. And I have great feeling for all countries. I deal with all countries, but I have a great feeling for South Africa because I have friends. I have a couple of friends, a few friends here today. I have many friends from South Africa, but many of those friends are not, they can't go back. I have Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved. That's all I have to do, get him into another thing. But Elon happens to be from South Africa. This is what Elon wanted. He actually came here on a different subject, sending rockets to Mars, okay? Yes. He likes that better. He likes that subject better. That's right. But Elon is from South Africa, and I don't want to talk to him about that. I don't think it's fair to him.
That's right.
But I will say that people are fleeing South Africa for their own safety. Their land is being confiscated, and in many cases they're being killed. And that scene of, you see how many crosses they have. Those crosses, that's a dead person in every one of them. And those trucks or cars are paying their respects to all of those dead people on a Sunday morning. That's a rough thing to explain away. And the problem we have, and the way, you know, a correct and a fair media exposes things. But we have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it. All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa. And it's a big problem. Marco Rubio was telling me he's never seen anything like it. The numbers of people that want to leave South Africa because they feel they're going to be dead very soon.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was
please.
going to say,
Brian, go.
If I could just ask you a question. 72% of farmers in your country are white. If they flee, do you feel that maybe the economy could collapse? You may not have a gap to fill in those people that need to replace those farmers.
You know, I'd like my Minister of Agriculture, who is white, who comes from an opposition party to mine, who's joined my government at my invitation to address this very issue, including the question that you've just raised. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yeah.
And Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us to the White House. I would say we have a rural safety problem in South Africa. I don't think anyone wants to candy coat that. And it requires a lot of effort to get on top of it. It's going to require more policing resources. It's going to require a different strategy to be able to deal with it. But certainly the majority of South Africa's commercial and smallholder farmers really do want to stay in South Africa and make it work. And I've just come from the largest agricultural show in the Southern Hemisphere with organized agriculture and farmers, and the majority of them want to stay. But they too there have a memorial to those who've died as a result of farm attacks. And as the Minister of Agriculture, it is something that I'm particularly exercised with my colleagues at police and my colleagues in the justice cluster to start making farm attacks and stock theft a priority crime. And it affects all farmers in South Africa, particularly stock theft. It has a disproportionate effect on smallholder black farmers. I also want to just say this, that the two individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition minority parties in South Africa. Mkhonto weSizwe under Mr. Zuma and the economic freedom fighters under Mr. Malema. Now the reason that my party, the Democratic Alliance, which has been an opposition party for over 30 years, chose to join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa's party was precisely to keep those people out of power. We cannot have those people sitting in the union buildings making decisions. And that is why after 30 years of us exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other, we've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government. Because the day they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our parliament, that's what you're going to see. And that is why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union buildings, because then South Africa's future would be...
So you denounced that type of language in the video that you saw?
Oh yes, we've always done so. As government, as my own party, we are completely opposed to that. We, in 1955, adopted a document which said South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I think, I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia, they're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless, it's valueless, and they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media We don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
Will you discuss USAID and the devastating impact the cuts are having across the African continent?
You know, it's devastating, and hopefully a lot of people are going to start spending a lot of money. And I've talked to other nations. We want them to chip in and spend money too. And we've spent a lot, and it's a tremendous problem going on in many countries. A lot of problems going on. The United States always gets the request for money. Nobody else helps, as you know. Europe doesn't help. Europe hasn't given anything. All they do is sue our companies. You know, they sue Apple, and they sue all of our companies. Apple had to pay $17 billion on a nonsense lawsuit. Very unfair. But we're going to always be there to help.
The Afrikaner Exsherwood Rice South African Broadcasting, if this Afrikaner resettlement issue is resolved, you're going to go into a room after this, you guys are going to talk. If it is resolved, what is the potential for the future-looking relationship between the United States?
It's got to be resolved. It should be resolved. I mean, it's a little bit bad when you see a stadium with 100,000 people in it, because that means it's more than just a little movement. It's a pretty big movement in South Africa, so it has to be resolved. It'll be the end of the country if it's not.
But is there potential for the relationship moving forward?
I hope so. That's why I'm here. I mean, I'm not here for my health. I'm here to see what it is. No, I'd like to see. I have friends. I can tell you, Ernie Els and Retief Goosen, they feel so strongly they wanted to be here on behalf of South Africa, not on behalf of me. And, you know, they said, can we be here for this? Because they love the country. Ernie, do you guys want to say a couple of words? I hate to put you in this. This is tougher than sinking a 3-footer. And they've sank many 3-footers. So I think I'll close by just saying that something happened a week ago that was very, very important, profound, but very important in so many ways. For years, I noticed that other countries paid much less for drugs and pharmaceuticals than we did. But I don't mean 2% less or 10%, which would be good, but I don't mean 20 or 25 or 30%. I mean, sometimes we paid 10 times more, 12 times more, 13 times more than other countries, where people from our country would be seen going into Mexico and seen going into other countries, leaving on trips and bringing their drugs home because they'd get in London, they'd be able to buy a drug for 1/10 the price of what it costs in New York City. And I watched this, and I watched it during my term, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and it's a very complex system, but, you know, we're smart also, maybe much smarter than they are, and at some point we had to figure out, and I heard it was the middleman. Nobody told me who the middleman was. Nobody knew who the middleman was. Nobody ever heard. All I heard is the middleman. I said, they've got to be the richest people in the world, whoever they are. We don't even know if there is a middleman. All I know is that the drugs were 10 times higher and sometimes more than that. And I really got into it over the last year, and I figured the whole system out. And for various and sundry reasons, the United States of America was being screwed, and we were being taken advantage of and being laughed at for years and years. And I said, it's not going to happen anymore. And I brought a great gentleman, the head of Eli Lilly, in, who's great. He really is. He's great. He's done a fantastic job. And others also of the companies. And I'd have it out with him. I had debates with him, actually. And pretty much it was a debate that was impossible to lose. You had to be a real bad debater to lose that debate, because they couldn't justify it. They tried to say, well, you know, we pay for research and development, and the United States has agreed to pay for 100%. I said, why? Why are we paying? And by the way, that wasn't even the number, because it's still way too high if you took all the research and development. But you have other countries that are a lot more vicious than us in terms of their representatives. And they'd set a price for a drug, and they'd say, tell the United States to pay for the rest. We were subsidizing the whole world. And I said, we're not going to do that anymore. We've been a laughing stock for so many years. The last 4 years, we've been a laughing stock. I said it. We were a laughing stock, and now we're the most respected, and we're the hottest country in the world. We're going to remain that way. We're going to do that with drug costs, too. And so I said, I'm going to do something that's a very unpopular thing to do with a small number of people, mainly the people that own the drug companies and others. And I'm not even blaming them. They were able to get away with it. But it was really other nations that took advantage of us because the drug companies were under their thumb. And they would say, this is what I'm going to pay. And the European Union was right at the top of the list. Let me tell you, we're going to pay $20 for this, and we're not going to pay any more. And America would pay $240 for the same thing that they're paying $20. They said, tell America to pay for the rest. And for years, they went along aimlessly, and they did it. And I started making changes, and I'll never forget the end of my first term, which was very successful. We had the best stock market ever. We had the best economy ever of any president. We went up 88% in the stock market, as an example, and I think 116% in one of the other indices. And we had, we're doing well, but this whole thing with the drug costs always bothered me. And I started really studying it, and it's very complicated stuff. And I said, you know what? We are paying so much more. And I demanded favored nations. We're the biggest buyer, we're the best buyer, we're the most solid buyer, we're the one that paid for all of the research and development. And I said, we're going to do something that's earth-shattering. So at the end of my first term, I was so proud because it's the first time in 28 years that any president reduced drug prices during the course of 4 years. And you know what the number was? 1/4 of 1%. But it was down 1/4. Think of it, 1/4 of 1%. Very little. Essentially, they remained the same. But I wanted to get it down, and I was so proud. I thought I was the greatest guy in the world. I took it down 1/4 of 1%, and I had news conferences. I was bragging. I'm the only one that did it 28 years. And then I said, that's not very much because we were still paying so much more. And I decided I've got to break the system. And it's the most powerful lobby in the world, the drug company. The most powerful they are, the most powerful. And I'm not saying bad, good. I'm not saying anything, but they have tremendous power over the Senate, over the House, over the governors, over everybody. And they spend more money, billions and billions of dollars. And I said, I don't care. I have to do what's right. And I declared a favored nations, most favored nations, where the United States from now on is going to pay the exact same price as the lowest price anywhere in the world. In other words, if you take... Right? In other words, if you take the country that's paying, and let's say in a certain part of, there may be some country out there that pays a little bit less for very good reasons because of the fact, a thing called poverty or whatever. But we take the lowest country, say European Union countries as a whole, that would be fine. Or take individual countries within the European Union, or take various countries that nobody's even heard about. We pay the lowest. And what that's going to mean, and I'd like to put somebody to police it because it should start immediately. It shouldn't start in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. They'll say, yes, it kicks in. They always say kicks in, Marty. It kicks in, sir, in 4 years, and in 4 years they get it changed. It should mean, so remember I told you I was happy with 1/4 of 1%. It could mean anywhere from 70% to 89% reduction in drugs and pharmaceuticals. That's a little different, right? And I've actually had some congressmen call me and they say, sir, can we talk about this? I said, no. They wanted to talk because, there's tremendous power against them. And I understand that. And every one of them was covered. Senators were. I see Roger smiling, and Roger probably was too. But you know what? He wants to do the right thing, right? He wants to do the right thing. And we're doing the right thing. We're taken advantage of, and forget the drug company, we're taken advantage of by other countries that insisted with the drug companies that they were going to pay X dollars, and we're not paying any more, and you're not doing business here. And they were nasty about it. Because these people are almost sort of afraid of them. And we are going to now get a reduction in drug costs of up to 89% in some cases, but 50% would be a bad number. So think of that, 50% versus 1/4%. Think of that, 85, 89, 91, 72%. It's going to be massive numbers. It's going to be incredible for Medicaid, incredible for all forms of health care. Medicare is going to have a huge impact, so big that nobody can calculate it. I mean, this thing could drop by 25, 30%. The drugs are a very big part of it, right? So very big part. So it'll affect everything. It'll affect your whole life. The amount of money you're going to be saving is going to be incalculable. Nobody can believe I had the courage to do it. I don't think it's courage. I think it would have been courage not to do it. I tell you what, not to do it would have taken far more courage because I was tired of it. And I was listening to these guys, and they make a lot of money every year, millions and millions of dollars a year. And I agree, because at the beginning, because of the complexity, you'd walk out of a room, you'd hear them talking, and, they almost convinced you that it's a great system, it's a wonderful system, even though we were paying 10 times more. That's why they make $30 million a year, because they were good, but not any longer. And one of them just threw up his hands after I was just pounding on him. He said, I can't do it anymore. It's the hardest thing I have to do is trying to justify this damn thing. I can't do it anymore. One of the biggest companies, I just can't do it anymore. You're right. And as soon as he said that, that was like incredible, because I understood exactly he couldn't do it. He said it's the hardest thing he had to do is trying to justify why we're paying $200 for something and somebody else is paying $12. That is a neighboring country. Take Canada. I mean, people go up to Canada to shop because the prices are so much less, and it's not going to happen anymore. So we're going to take the lowest country anywhere in the world, and that's what we're going to be paying, and we'll be saving from 50 to 89%. And these are big, these are tremendous numbers. There's not going to be anything where we're paying 10 times more than somebody else. And one thing that is very important, and it's got to be implemented, it's done. I've done the order, it's done. But we have to get somebody that's got a lot of strength and a lot of power, because you have to implement it, because these countries are going to go down fighting. They don't want this to happen because they're going to go up. Now, there are many more people involved in the world than there are here. So they'll go up a little bit, maybe 15, 20%, and we're going to go down 60, 70, or 80%. But they will fight the drug companies. The drug companies are very worried that they're going to fight, and that's okay. If they fight, we'll just say, that's okay. We are not going to let you sell any more cars into the United States, or we're not going to let you sell any more wine or liquor or alcohol or something that's actually much more important to them than the drugs. And we're going to be able to force that issue if we need to. They should do it. We're basically equalizing. They should do it. And, the drug companies should do just as well. This shouldn't be a hit on their stock. I don't think it will be. It's basically... it's going to be the same amount of money, but it's going to be redistributed, and it's going to be redistributed, so they're going to pay a little bit more, and we're going to pay a lot less. A little bit more because there's so many more. It's a bigger number. And so, Robbie, I'd like to ask you and Dr. Oz and Marty, perhaps, and Jay, and maybe representing the world's politicians, I can ask Roger, who's so great with this whole subject, if you would be very, very tough and very, very very powerful in a sense. It's not easy. You're going to have to get this done. The drug companies are going to say, well, they won't do it, and maybe they won't. And if they don't do it, we're going to not do business with that country or those countries. But we're going to have to be very tough until it's totally stabilized and equalized. And Oz, I mean, I see your eyes are gleaming because you've been talking about this for a long time, but you've never had anyone willing to do it. But I'm willing to do it. And I think it's going to go down as one of the most important things we've ever done, because drug costs are going down. Think of it. Then every year for 21 years, the costs have gone up, and now they're going down maybe by 85, 80. I'm telling you, 89% in 2 instances, 89% cut. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So I'd like to ask Oz in particular, because you and I know each other. He's a very tough hombre, this one. He's tough as hell. And so if you can lead the group, and it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to get in, and you're going to have to fight. If you do it, you can have, within a period of weeks, you can have drug costs that drop like a rock, okay? So you, as a group, I have great confidence. And if you don't do it, I am firing every single one of you. Good luck, guys. All right? Can you handle it? Do you have any questions for these brilliant people? They are brilliant people, actually.
Mr. President, on nuclear, sir, a lot of the concern over the years that's held the nuclear industry back has been about safety. Are you satisfied with those safety concerns?
Yeah, we are. It's become a very safe, actually it's become very safe, and a tremendous work's been done on that more than anything else, and it's really the automatic shutoffs. There's so many different things that they have now that they would have never had. You know, my uncle was a great nuclear person years ago, and that was a different, if you would have asked that question, probably it would have been a much different answer. But they have tremendous shut-off power and other powers that, and it's very redundant, as I understand it, like at a level that nobody's ever seen before. So it's safe. And we're going to do a lot of the small ones, and we're going to do some of the big ones. But yeah, very safe, safe and clean.
And on your
Let's keep it on this for a little while. Let's keep it on the nuclear, and then if you want to ask something else, which you might, we'll do that.
On nuclear, Mr. President.
Yeah, please.
What do you say to folks who are concerned that speeding up licensing or even doing fuel reprocessing raises safety and proliferation?
Yeah, we're going to get it very fast, and we're going to get it very safe, and we're going to get the people in and out, and they're going to do plants. In many cases, they'll do 3 or 4 smaller ones and put them together. That's what France has done. France has done a good job of this for years. And they, as I understand it, they had basically one plan. And if they needed more, they'd do 3 or 4 or 5 of them. I don't know, we have to go that far, but you know, there's something about building one big one. But we'll build the big ones too. We're going to have, I think I would say we'll be second to none, because we're starting very strong. But it's time for nuclear, and we're going to do it very big. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, what about the European Union? You said that negotiations are going nowhere. Where are the kind of points where
they're slow moving? I've been saying to everybody, they've treated us very badly over the years. It was formed in order to hurt the United States, in order to take advantage of the United States, and they've done that. We have a big deficit with them. They sell millions and millions of cars, as you know, Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen and many others, and we were restricted from, essentially restricted from selling cars into the European Union, which is not nice. And I just said it's time that we play the game the way I know how to play the game. You know, they've taken advantage of other people representing this country, and they're not going to do that any longer. Yeah.
Mr. President, you are a deal maker, deal breaker. What are you hoping to achieve with a 50%? Tariffs on the
well, I think this is there is no tariff, because what they'll do is they'll send their companies into the U.S. and build their plant. You know, we have I guess over $12 trillion practically committed. You look at other presidents; they haven't had $1 trillion for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years. We have numbers. Nobody's ever seen numbers like we have. And if they build their plant here, then they have no tariff at all.
Are you looking for a deal in 9 days? Will you be able to do that, sir?
I'm not looking for a deal. I mean, we've set the deal. It's at 50%. But again, there is no tariff if they build their plant here. Now, if somebody comes in and wants to build a plant here, I can talk to them about a little bit of a delay. But, you know, while they're building their plant, which is something I think that would be appropriate, maybe, we'll determine that.
Is there anything they can do, sir? Is there anything the EU can do?
I don't know. We're going to see what happens. But right now, it's going on June 1st. And that's the way it is. No, they haven't treated us properly. They haven't treated our country properly. They banded together to take advantage of us. And the people behind me know, because they had some of that with their industry. But generally, you know, we signed a great deal with United Kingdom. We have numerous other deals that are ready to be signed. We've signed a deal with China. We have some really amazing deals. But the European Union, I mean, the sole purpose was really not to hurt us, but to take advantage of us, and we're not going to be taking
Mr. President, on Apple, you said this morning that if they don't make their iPhones in the U.S., you're going to hit them with a 25% tariff.
Right.
Do you have the power to tariff one single company, and why would you
No,
want to
it'll
hurt
be
an
more.
American company in that way?
It would be more. It would be also Samsung and anybody that makes that product. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair. So anybody that makes that product, and that'll start on I guess the end of June, it'll come out. I think we have that appropriately done by the end of June. So if they make that product. Now, again, when they build their plant here, there's no tariff. So they're going to be building plants here. But I had an understanding with Tim that he wouldn't be doing this. He said he's going to India to build plants. I said, that's okay to go to India, but you're not going to sell into here without tariffs. And that's the way it is. Yeah.
Why would you put an American? What makes you confident, sir, that Apple can build in the United States at a price that American consumers?
Oh, they can. No, they can. And a lot of it's so computerized now. These plants are amazing if you look at them, but they can do that. And actually, as you know, Apple's coming in with $500 billion. So are the chip companies. We have all of the chip companies coming in. The biggest, $500 billion, $200 billion, $250 billion they're spending. But we're talking about the iPhone now, and the iPhone, if they're going to sell it in America, I want it to be built in the United States. They're able to do that.
When you say that Walmart should eat the cost of the tariffs, is that an acknowledgement that it is U.S. companies that bear the brunt of tariffs, not foreign companies?
Sometimes the country will eat it, sometimes Walmart will eat it, and sometimes there'll be something to pay, something extra. I've always been a fan, and I've always believed, and if you look, take a look at what I did 4 years ago. We had the greatest economy, and we had no inflation. Remember that. We had no inflation, and yet we had hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs that I put on China, yet we had no inflation. We had no big cost differential. Oftentimes, and I don't like it when a department store, because they'll do a lot of business, but they announce record profits and everything else. They have to take out some of their profits. They'll make a little bit less money. But I don't want the consumer. I don't want the consumer to pay.
But why impose tariffs that are hurting American businesses?
They're not hurting. They're helping because they're creating jobs in America. We're creating tremendous amounts of jobs in America like you've never seen. We're having investment in America. We're not getting ripped off by every country in the world. We've been ripped off by every country in the world. They're making their product. They sell it. They don't give our people the jobs. They make them with other countries' jobs. And we will have something that nobody will ever see again, I think. I think we have a potential to do numbers that we never envisioned in the wildest year. Look at what's happening. 10 to 12 trillion dollars in literally a couple of months. It's nothing like that's ever happened. It's we're doing a very special thing. We want, if they're going to sell it here, generally speaking, not for all products. There's some products we don't want to make. And frankly, we're much better off getting them elsewhere. But for certain products, we want cars. We want to make cars. We don't want to have, and I like Canada very much, but we don't want to have Canada making our cars. We want to make our cars. Oh, it's a phone call. Do you mind? Hello? Okay, it's only a congressman. I'd let you know, actually.
Mr. President, are you considering stopping other universities from taking foreign students?
It's a different congressman. They're all congratulating us.
Is that an iPhone, sir?
Yeah, it's lucky it is. Right? Okay, let's go.
Are you considering stopping other universities besides Harvard from accepting foreign
Well, we're
students?
taking a look at a lot of things. And as you know, billions of dollars has been paid to Harvard. How ridiculous is that? Billions. And they have $52 billion as an endowment. They have $52 billion. And this country is paying billions and billions of dollars and then gives student loans, and they have to pay back the loans. So Harvard's going to have to change its ways. So are some others.
On that note, a lot of CEOs in the United States, big companies, are foreign. What is that going to do?
I'm fine with that. No, I'm fine with that. No, we want to do that. We're actually going to be doing something in the near future that's going to make it possible for people to come into this country and come in and have a road toward citizenship. And I think it'll be very exciting, but it's too soon to speak.
Why would you not want the best and brightest from around the world to come to Harvard?
I do, but a lot of the people need remedial math. Did you see that? Where the students can't add 2 and 2, and they go to Harvard. They want remedial math, and they're going to teach remedial math at Harvard. No, wait a minute. So why would they get in? How can somebody that can't add or has very basic skills, how do they get into Harvard? Why are they there? And then you see those same people picketing and screaming at the United States and screaming at, they're anti-Semitic or they're something. We don't want troublemakers here. But how do people that can't, when Harvard comes out with a statement that they're going to teach some of their students remedial math, that's basic math, that's not the deal, okay? And anymore.
Are there other countries you're considering shortening the 90-day pause on tariffs for? And then are there specific steps you're looking for the EU to take?
We have a lot of requests, and you don't have the people to handle it, frankly. Everybody wants to make a deal. I'm sure now the European Union wants to make a deal very badly, but they don't do it right. They don't go about it right. The other thing they do is they sue our companies all the time. They have suits where their judges, I don't know if they're appointed by them, but they're definitely Europe-centric, and we're not going to stand for it. They won a $17 billion lawsuit for Apple, and I read that case, and that's not a case that should have been won. They're suing other of our companies. They use this as a weapon, but they use it really to raise funds for what they do. It's almost like a fundraising mechanism. So we add that to the fact that they do the non-monetary tariffs and lots of other trading, you would call them trading barriers. They don't take our cars. They don't take our agriculture. They don't take anything, but we take their cars by the millions. And therefore, they have the jobs, they get the money, and we get closed plants. It's not going to happen that way anymore. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Please go. Thank you, Please keep moving. Please keep moving out the door this way.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.